So I'd like to start off and contextualize today's discussion by first taking a look at the current technological landscape, what technologies exist, and how these advancements have allowed for improvement. Before we move into the second half of our conversation, which will be focused on the early decision-making process and questions to ask and address when you're adopting these technologies and building your operations around them. So the first question that I'll pose to Matt and TJ, and Matt, we could start with you. I want to know first, what specific advancements in automation and computational technology have most significantly impacted or transformed the field and the way biotechs develop gene therapies? And second, how does your company use these technologies, and how has the use of automation changed throughout your career?
Sure. So thanks for having me. There's been a lot of advancements, especially in the recent few years. But I think it really depends on which areas excite you the most. On the hardware side, I think one of the really cool things is the introduction of collaborative robotics, which has been huge. So, you no longer have to have these robotic arms in these like operating bubbles, far away from like the people. You can actually set up systems now to operate with users interactively. You can have them actively working on the system, loading samples, using some of the devices in like a walk-up mode, which is huge for automation because, as you can imagine, the instrumentation is not cheap. And we have really great pieces of hardware, like high-throughput readers, acoustic dispensers, and these are things that no longer have to be a single point of access. You can actually have scientists walk up and use them as if they were any other benchtop device, which really lowers the bar for entry and helps with your ROI. Another really exciting area for, I think, robotics in general, but especially lab automation, has been the idea of mobile robotics. There are some really cool ways that you can actually connect what have been traditionally isolated systems, or what we call islands of automation, allowing you to leverage all of the instrumentation that you have throughout your lab versus just whatever devices are local to wherever the user is. There are examples of maglev plate shuttles, high-speed linear rails, and at Beam, we actually have these rovers that are essentially cars that use machine vision to navigate by barcode across our entire lab space. And they connect each of our systems via a handoff to the actual robotic arms. And we can talk more about that later. I think one last thing that I'd like to briefly touch on is the digitization of lab. So, it's possible now to create digital twins of your systems, of your lab, and provide a whole new tool for communicating with your users. Instead of like the traditional whiteboard kickoff where, your complexity of speccing was how many colors you have available, you can actually create like a live interactable visual representation of your lab and build something really representative that you can work through. This also provides a way of like monitoring equipment, run status, and even provides ways for users to kick off new orders or input information from, a benchling or limbs. Which really helps, move towards like more low-code solutions, which makes getting these automated solutions up and running that much faster. And then in terms of, how we use them, when I first started using automation, like I mentioned, it was all about the liquid handler. It was very liquid handler centric. If you were really advanced, and you needed to increase your capacity, you bought a second liquid handler. But now we have these systems that can access dozens of devices, and you have like layers of software that allow you to not only control the device themselves, but actually coordinate the activities across the different functions and functionality. So all of these really change how you kind of evaluate new projects and, like I said, speed up the time to spin them up. Additionally, the monitoring digital twins allows you to surface a lot of what goes on to the end user. So automation is no longer like a black box, kind of like the old school way of doing it.
Yeah, great, thank you, Matt.
I can jump in and talk about a few different things, because over the last 30 years, I've worked in a range of academic and industry, both kind of startup and then expanding on. And we've certainly had automation at a lot of different levels. And we thought about, what the values were, right? And it goes into grayscale, from even the simplest benchtop machines or to the nice, very exciting ones Matt was talking about, but things that increase the volume, speed results, improve the quality and reliability of results, and just the ability to do experiments that would take superhuman tasks. And I imagine, well, as we discuss a number of these features, we can talk about a number of those things. Matt mentioned liquid handling, but even just these really small volumes, which are economical and allow the use of precious reagents. we can get into these wells, tiny wells, and do really complex protocols. But I think another aspect of this is how we've taken computation and automated. And so we have data optimization, the aspects of machine learning and artificial intelligence. And so, there's a whole lot that one could do in automation. And speaking to a friend yesterday in a small startup, she was saying, but it's so expensive. But I think we'll really get into when we can automate to save money, when we can get into automation to do experiments that we couldn't do otherwise, or improve precision, and really speed drugs to the patients, which is what we're here for. So I think we'll be able to talk about a range of examples, and and it might be hard to pick the specific advancements that we think are the most important. But I think one of the take homes is that many people can look at what they're doing and therefore decide what they can automate that will be the advancement that's most relevant to their work.